Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to present a very short overview about the innovation trajectories and some possible investment frontiers in food 2025 and also later on, as related to the biotech topic. And I just introduce myself. I'm Stefano Curcio. I am a full professor of chemical engineering. I am involved in food technology for a very long time. So I'm trying to present some of the expertise I've got in my previous my previous experience. So the first question I would like to present you is why now? I've called this, I've named this slide the iPhone moment. So a particular favorable moment in which to invest in the food sector and in which to present some possible innovations. Innovations which actually pertain to three main pillars. So the biological revolution, so the possibility to have some very deep knowledge about gene editing and also microbiome science. The second pillar is digital transformation, so the possibility to use new technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and big data in order to have some good innovation trajectories. And the third one is consumer awakening, so the possibility that now consumers are more conscious about some detailed aspects that consumers of 15, 20 years ago didn't consider so important. So you can see, considering this slide, that the intersection between these three pillars, biology, digital transformation, and the consumer, is a concrete opportunity in which to invest money and make some other innovation. And within this opportunity, biotechnology is certainly the way to connect these three pillars, considering also, as it is reported at the end of this slide, that there's a possible crisis, considering that in less than 25 years, the global world population will be about 10 billions of people with this is certainly an estimation of 30% more emissions that make this area certainly eligible for urgent innovation solutions that are to be found and proposed. So I just, I have just sketched six probably pillars of innovation, so a kind of roadmap, and I'm going to present for each of them some possible examples, also with a connection to some websites of real companies that have invested in this sector, proposing also some very nice solutions to each of these problems. Sustainable agriculture, reducing food waste, improving nutrition, safety and traceability, consumer improvement, and digital ecosystems. So I'm going to present in detail each of these six pillars, but these, in my opinion, represent a new frontier for innovation in the global food system. Let's start with the first one, sustainable agriculture. It is important to observe the importance of agricultural biotechnology market. You can observe that in 2025, which is now it is going to be completed, the overall market is about 135 billions worldwide. And you can see that according to some estimates, this market size is improving progressively, and in 10 years, it will become more than twice, about 300 billions of US dollars, considering that this sector is improving and is growing very fast. Why it is growing very fast? Because so far we in agriculture have used the so-called chemical approach. So the possibility of producing synthetic fertilizers, pesticides. Now this vision has been mostly abandoned by the new agricultural company, and it is more useful to focus on the biological approach. So some sustainable technologies that could reach the same objectives as the chemical approach, but in a more sustainable way. So these biological solutions work in cooperation with nature. They are not aggressive as compared to the chemical approach, and so they are to be investigated more in detail in the future. I am proposing to you two nice examples of this agrobiotech in action. I hope that the link works. Let's see what happens. If you could tell me if nothing. Okay. Could you see my screen and this website?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is a good company, so I don't want to go very in detail of each of these websites. So it is just a point of attention for you for further deepening in this field. And you can see that this company, which is a startup, has just started its operation in 2022. By the solutions they have proposed, they were able to save 1.5 million, more or less, million of tons of equivalent CO2. This considering that they are going to propose a new technology to fix nitrogen in the soil from a biotechnology point of view. So no more chemical fertilizers, but new biotechnology, more friendly as compared to the environment. If I go back to my presentation, there's also this other company, which is very interesting because they want to achieve as a result a more sustainable and efficient way of using our resource. So I hope that also this link will work, and you can see that they propose a real revolution in biology, changing the conventional techniques and making a new proposal to achieve a sustainable agriculture. I'm not presenting, I'm not an advertiser, no, just some examples that I retain, I consider very, very interesting in this area. So I invite each of you to have a look at these examples, and you can see that they are proposing some new techniques inspired by microbiology and some healthy food. This is another very interesting trajectory for investing in food sector. Going back to my presentation, Should be this one. Another important theme is to reduce food waste. Unfortunately, at this time, it is a huge amount. 1/3 of all the food produced is lost or wasted. So it is important to develop some new technology in order to make this waste a new resource, a new way to obtain some new materials, new ingredients in a classical logical that is that one of circular economy. So what is considered a waste can be within a valorization process, be processed again, and it becomes a new ingredient in a circular way. If you consider, for instance, when you produce cheese, you have a huge amount of whey. That whey is very rich in milk proteins or whey proteins. These proteins can be separated by a membrane process and can be used, for instance, to develop some new food, some very high protein foods, like those ones used for people involved in sports or in similar activities. Also, in this case, I have prepared two websites referred to two companies that are involved in this area. The first website is very important, very nice, because they have also prepared a video. I would like to show very briefly. It is just 5 minutes. So fermentation as a way to uh, Okay, I just stop. It is important to understand the main objectives of this company. So to use a very old process, fermentation, that is used in the history of human being to produce very common foods like bread, yogurt, and so on, to be used also to treat some wastes coming from the food and so obtain new ingredients for other foods, for other products, by using a very natural and sustainable process. This is also another interesting company, if the link works. I don't know why. Okay, now let's see if it works. Okay. So it is nice to observe this app that can be used by factories or also in our houses to save a huge amount of food waste and also to save money. And it is interesting to observe, having more time than a half hour, how we can implement some good strategies to save food in our house, in our houses, or also in the firms. And it is interesting to follow this website in order to understand the main logic of this example. Okay. Improving nutrition. Okay, this is the third pillar I'm going to present because you know that so far we have grown up considering that one food is good for everybody. Now this logic has been changed because considering the advancement in DNA sequences, all the industries are investing a lot of money in order to produce personal foods or personalized food, considering our main characteristics as referred to our DNA, and considering that food can be considered also a medicine. Medicine, since food is full of vitamins and good products, and so can be used also to solve some health problems we could have. And you consider that the person is at the end of, once again, a circular pathway in which we can collect some data, integrate and understand this data, make some personal recommendation, and make also some good suggestion in order to change our behavior in the food sector, considering a lot of different factors, biological factors, dietary factors, and also some lifestyle and environmental factors. This approach can be used for each of us, not for a category of people, not for everybody, but for each consumer, considering also the new information technology that are growing up more and more. And once again, we can propose some examples. For instance, one interesting technology is this GLP-1 drug, so a kind of substitute of our hormone, glucagon-like peptide 1, that can be used to manage some important pathologies like diabetes and obesity. There are also some medicaments in the market, but they have to be used under strict medical control in order to avoid problems to the people. And also this app, this Zoe app, is very interesting because it may provide real-time metabolic insights that can be used to achieve the objectives I've sketched before. So the possibility to have some personalized nutrition advices considering a lot of data, a lot of parameters. You can see that on the website you can find some insights about this new technology, considering that gut health is our health. So we start from the nutrition that can give some good uh, promotion to our gut and to the macrobiotics that are inside our body, and on the basis of which everything is going on. Okay, safety and traceability. You know that regarding traceability, there is an old concept which is normally called from farm to fork and from fork to farm. So a bidirectional traceability that now is considering an old concept on the basis of the fact that if we use a blockchain technology, so a technology based on information and communication technology, we can have a trustworthy way of tracing our food, considering the actual origin of food products, the safety standards, and also the ethical practice used to obtain those foods. And this information that are saved in this platform, in this ICT platform, cannot be changed by anyone. So it is a real way to obtain good information, a lot of information, and that no one can never change or modify. And this blockchain is also another good technology on which many companies are investing a lot of money, because now the consumer is very focused on this topic and want to obtain an immutable record as given by this blockchain technology. This is why all these companies are moving towards this new technology, because there is a real regulator driver, which is called the digital product passport. So the European Union is stressing on this digital product passport because, okay, now it is becoming a kind of something that all the companies must have. So it is not just a nice to have technology, but it is compulsory that each food product should be accompanied by this digital product passport, which reports all the data of that food, considering also the blockchain technology I have just sketched before. Consumer empowerment. This is also very important because consumer is now in the middle of a very complicated system in which we can consider the consumer as a part of a research and design team. So on the basis of the feedback that consumer can give upon a certain food product, the company can decide to modify the production process or the food ingredients or all the characteristics of their products, their combination. And you can consider that consumer is now a kind of co-creator of new food products, of new ingredients, and also of new processes. And it is also interesting that within this field, now, according to the 3D printing technology, which is becoming more and more important, we can recreate standard foods. You know that up to 5-10 years ago, the meat-based burgers have been, to a certain extent, replaced by plant-based burgers. So burgers which have vegetables are as the main ingredients. Now this standpoint is changed in the food industry, because by this 3D printing technology, we can recreate the real structure of burgers or of other foods by inserting the real ingredients that are on the basis of this food, of this technology. This RevoFoods.com, for instance, very shortly, is able to reproduce a salmon fillet by 3D printing solution. And the composition of this kind of salmon fillet is the best one that can be achieved. Why? Because we can choose the right ingredients and mix together and then print them in according to the shape we want to achieve, we wanted to obtain. So the real and good balance between proteins, fat, carbohydrates, vitamins, and so on, in order to obtain a kind of superfood by 3D printing technology. Another important theme is related to digital ecosystems, in which we have three main actors: artificial intelligence, IoT, and big data. So a complex ecosystem, which is very powerful and very interesting from a economic point of view. If you consider this trend, artificial intelligence in food market is expected to grow from 15 billions in 2025 to 263 in 2034. So by a factor which is more than 15 times. So a huge amount of money that artificial intelligence may introduce in food sector, especially if it is combined to the other two technologies, IoT and big data, to solve real problems, to obtain new solutions, new technology in the food sector. And in this area, it is very important the concept of digital twin. So something that is obtained on our PCs, on our workstation, which is a trustworthy representation of a real process, of a real industrial process, of a real physical farm. So we can use our computer in order to simulate the behavior of real system in a faster way, without wasting money, without wasting raw materials, and predict how the behavior of these systems, of this real system, can be obtained, also suggesting to us some optimization to these processes or to these physical farms. So the so-called predictive analytics by these digital twins is one of the most powerful and promising technologies that can be used in the food sector. There's also this link here. It is probably the last one. I invite you to have a look at it, because you can see that just by using this platform, this X-Farm platform, more than 550,000 farms have been involved in this digital innovation, in this digital revolution. And you can also consider a huge amount of money savings using these new technologies. Okay. Investment landscape in 2025. You can see that Europe is not very active in this area, because if you consider the amount of money invested in this field in 2025, only 12% are related to Europe. US instead has invested about 60% of the total amount of money. So as Europeans, we have to push more in this field to consider, for instance, those SOX pillars I've showed you before, in order to make this digital transformation, this biotechnology transformation a reality, and not just a kind of good proposals, of good examples that have a limited application. We have to push more to think about these new solutions, these innovative solutions, in order to make Europe more powerful in this area, in this field, considering that also China and Asia are very active in this area, considering that more or less 1/3 of the total amount of money is invested there, but this amount is increasing more and more. So just I'm going to the conclusions of my short talk. Okay, normally I teach a course in University of Calabria, which is called Innovation in Food Sector. So you can consider that I normally talk about this topic for one semester, and to concentrate everything in just half hour was a bit complicated, and I hope that I have given to you some hints, some standpoint that may push you to consider this topic as very interesting for your future career. But you can consider that sustainable agriculture, waste reduction, safety and traceability, resource management, new technologies like big data, IoT, and artificial intelligence can be considered as realities. They have just to be improved, but they are not to be considered like some lab scale examples. Many companies have already invested in these fields, and they are going to invest more and more money in the subsequent years. And so just some hints from my experience, from my expertise to you. It is important to think systemic, not to observe just a very limited problem, but it is important to have an overall overview, because if we think about full ecosystems, we can propose probably better and more innovative solutions. It is important also to validate early, so to make at the very beginning of your new proposals some real tests with real users, in order to understand if what you are going to propose is really interesting for a real ecosystem, for a bigger system, and to have collaborations among different scientific and technological areas. Now, multidisciplinarity is the basis of everything. I am an engineer, but if I think that as an engineer I can solve all the problems, I am completely wrong. I have to collaborate with biotechnologists, with physics, with chemists, and all the disciplines in which different standpoints can be merged in a single environment, in which these different standpoints can be very useful to solve real problems. So think systemic, validate early, and collaborate also with other areas which are not exactly the same, in which you have been formed and in which your background is is located. And so you can see that in this pathway, many different actors are very important in order to solve problems and to propose new and useful solutions. Students, researchers, entrepreneurs, innovators, and visionary. So all these parts are important in our ecosystem in order to transform a lab scale research into a market reality, into a real company which produces money, actually, and especially a real company which solves real problems. So just I've concluded my talk. It is important to build the future of food together. This is my email address if you want to clarify some aspects that for which I was not so clear during my short presentation. I'm available to respond to all the questions. And I would like to thank you for your participation at this very short seminar. And okay, we would like to realize a health-centric food system, not tomorrow, but today. Tomorrow, probably it could be too late. We have to move right now in order to solve a huge problem that food market now is posing. Thank you so much once again.